But there's another acronym that I love probably more. It's ROC that we've adopted, and that's return on collision. And the collision that occurs...
This is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today, your media hub for all things Black entrepreneurship, politics, news, and events in Hampton Roads and beyond.
When I say black, y'all say Wall Street. Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street. When I say black, y'all say Wall Street. Black.
Welcome to the 50th edition of Black Wall Street Today. I am your host, Blair Durham. Greetings and many thanks to our sponsors, Avenue Forest Salon. They're at 5034 East Princess Anne Road in Norfolk, as well as the Ready Academy, historic First Baptist Beach Street. Maybe you're interested in sponsoring our radio show, earning a place of primacy for your business. Feel free to reach out to us at info@blackbrand.biz, B-I-Z, for more information on how you can become an integral part of an upcoming show. Did I mention Black Wall Street Today is now also available on Anchor.fm, on Spreaker, on Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, just about any place where you listen to podcasts, you can find Black Wall Street Today. We are so excited about growing in that way. Our topic for today is the Great Debate Part 2. Should entrepreneurs pursue formal education? I'll just provide some context before we get started. Part 1 of our debate just a few weeks ago featured Dr. Oliver Jones, who is Hampton University's Center for Applied Economics and Entrepreneurship founder, as well as Nancy Prather Johnson, who is Tidewater Community College's Dean of Business. We had an array of call-ins with entrepreneurs chiming in on the topic from various vantage points. One had been in business without formal education for over 30 years and said that many of the pitfalls he's faced would have no doubt been avoided if he'd had business training. Another entrepreneur who called in, who'd been in business for over a decade, had earned a PhD and had taken a number of business courses, said that she was emphatic that the only training she's received as an entrepreneur that has really been meaningful for her journey has been that boots on the ground, on-the-job training that she kind of got underway once she got started as a business owner. So very interesting and diverse perspectives on the topic. Here's what we know about entrepreneurship and business education. I am a lover of statistics, so I'd be remiss if I didn't share some of these intriguing numbers that we have found. Forbes recently published this information. They shared that in a survey by small business insurer Hiscox, 66% of small business owners around the world said that they believe their education system did not encourage individual ideas and dreams, two of the key ingredients in any recipe for entrepreneurship. That statistic is actually born out of another study in which 81% of young people surveyed said that they wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, but 62% of that same group said that they weren't offered entrepreneurship classes in college. Pretty interesting. Of course, we know that there are outliers such as Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates that have shown that you don't need a diploma to succeed in business. But again, they are outliers in a sea of college-educated founders. And I'll just share this one more statistic before we get into our quote-unquote debate. A Kauffman Foundation study revealed that over 90% of American tech company founders hold a bachelor's degree, and those with MBAs or Master's in Business Administration degrees are able to start and build their companies faster. So, to help frame the dialogue for today, we're bringing back Miss Nancy Prather Johnson. She's certainly no stranger to our platform. Again, she's the Dean of the School of Business at Tidewater Community College, where she leads a business pathway that consists of 7 degree programs and several certificate programs, and I believe she's adding to them as we speak. In her role, Mrs. Prather Johnson offers support to the TCC faculty and assists over 3,000 students in enrollment, the completion of their degree programs, as well as entering the job market and continuing their education. Also joining us today is Mr. Bobby Wright. He is a serial entrepreneur, and he's the founder of Percolator, which is a co-working space and comprises the Granby Theater. Oh, goodness. Granby Theater, gym downtown, as well as the Wright Company. I'm learning something new. Percolator, with 4 campuses downtown Norfolk, is a collaboration/innovation co-working community that's flexible, energetic, and professional, offering affordable space that helps facilitate community. The Wright Company and Wright Property Management specialize in commercial real estate development, brokerage, leasing, sales, and property management. And the Granby Theater hosts private events and other memorable gatherings at that location. Of course, the gym downtown focuses on wellness and fitness for everyone. So let's get this party started. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the two of you. I'd actually like to get started with Nancy if I could. Nancy, would you bring us up to speed first on how you got into this work and what led you down the path of teaching and then leading educators in entrepreneurship?
Hi, how are you? Good to hear your voice again, Blair.
Yes, yours as well.
For me, I am an entrepreneur myself. My husband owns a commercial cleaning business. We've owned that since 2006. Since then, I've owned several businesses, including a Zumba studio, a tutoring business for students through the ages of high school and entry into college. And so really just have an entrepreneurial spirit. But I also saw that it was certainly a vehicle to help with economic development, especially for economies that needed to grow. Not only we know that the start of economic development starts with small businesses. And so certainly I saw that as a platform to help these communities really grow their own and increase their economic development in their particular cities and growing those cities. So it was a way of also helping people who perhaps needed a living wage. Many times when we think about industry and we think about jobs, sometimes it's very difficult for people to find a living wage where the wages actually help with paying for that day-to-day living. And so one of the things that entrepreneurship does is just that, and we live in an area that is so vibrant, so ripe for entrepreneurship. It's anything you could start seems to be quite successful in this area.
Fantastic. Let me ask you this while have you answered this, and then I'm going to ask a similar question of Bobby. First, just give us your perspective on the topic. So which side are you going to take today in terms of the conversation? Should entrepreneurs pursue formalized business education?
Well, of course, for me, being in education for many years and particular business education and now education that leads to entrepreneurship, I certainly err on the side of needing a formal education. For me, though, really, when we think about education, that comes in many sizes, many different spaces. And so I truly believe as an educator that education doesn't just happen inside walls. Education happens a lot of different places. In school buildings, in college, inside a classroom, outside of a classroom, at a business, mentorship with business owners and entrepreneurs, workshops, all of the co-curricular activities. And so it's really, for me, it's not the question necessarily of formal education, but what type of education the student is receiving or the future entrepreneur is receiving. It's just so important that they take advantage of all the different components that leads to educating them around being a successful entrepreneur.
Sure. I love it. Bobby, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Blair. Good to have you here. I wish I was seeing you face to face, though.
I know. We'll make it happen soon.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask a similar question of you. I mean, you're obviously a very successful entrepreneur, and then getting into the percolator space and creating community around entrepreneurship. What made you decide to go in that direction? Where does that kind of passion come from?
Well, Percolator really it comes from my heart. One thing, listening to Nancy, I realized that I was kind of reliving my high school and my college days while I was listening to Nancy, and I thought, you know what? I never really heard the word entrepreneurship, especially in high school. Never heard it. Not much at Old Dominion or Virginia Tech. But there was always something in my heart, right? There was always something. I was always looking for the why or questioning things or how could we make it better or who could we put together or who could be helped, right? I've always had a heart for people and helping. So I think that Percolator really is it's the end result. It's the byproduct of my life and looking for what is my plan for my life and how can I help people? How can I connect people? How can I love on people, right? There's so much of the opposite in our world. It's kind of fun to love on people and see when they get some hope from you and some encouragement and maybe even some loving criticism, what they can do on their own or what they can do collectively. So I wouldn't say that, Percolator was formed on a piece of paper or I created this great business plan. I love to tell you that, but it's not the truth. It's really from my DNA.
I love it. Wow.
Thank you.
So what perspective or position are you going to take today with regard to the discussion about the need for formal education, formal training for business owners?
Okay, where do I find myself on this? That's a good question. And I've thought about it, since you invited me, which I appreciate the invitation. And I really don't have a strong position, but I will say through my life and just looking at what's worked for me and how I've helped others and how other folks have mentored me, it's kind of in the middle, like I'm an independent, right? It's I went to Old Dominion, then I graduated from Virginia Tech, and it's clearly benefited me from some opportunities such as relationships. So one thing we do at Percolator, it's on my business card. It says we facilitate relationships. So I lean back on my relationships that I formed in Virginia Tech and Old Dominion University, and then also with other collegiate friends that went to, say, TCC or NSU or Hampton or UVA, right? We were just kind of bonding around being students. So from that standpoint, you're being schooled, but it's in a social forum, not from a book. So that's really important. Part of the game, I guess they say, I believe in this big time, is just showing up. So when you are a student, when you're getting formal education, you're not going to make well on the class if you're not showing up. So a big part of the game is just showing up. And so as a young person, that's instilling in you, I guess, some characteristics maybe that maybe you didn't get those. Maybe you come from a broken family, or maybe you're adopted, or maybe you do come from the perfect family. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're being taught to show up, to be on time, to be committed, to stick to it. So I think through the universities, that's probably the biggest thing I would say I secured, other than my diploma, which obviously said I could do something, I could stick to something, I could conquer a big challenge or task. So, but then on the other side, I will tell you, in my professional career, I've learned so much more through just doing it, from being around people, being around Nancy.
That's interesting.
Meeting you, Blair, all these things kind of sharpen me. As they say, iron sharpens iron, right? So I'm looking every day to learn. I love learning. I enjoy learning. I think my day is not fulfilled if I haven't learned something new or gotten a new nugget that's made me either be a better communicator or better at what I do. In fact, not to steal the thunder, but I'll tell you recently that an angel fund, a startup, a seed money fund out of California, found Percolator. Lord knows how they found us. I don't know. That I always get a big smile, like, what? You're from San Francisco. But their basis for looking for an entrepreneur to either give grant money or lend money to was they were looking for entrepreneurs that did not have an education. So they came to Percolator asking me, hey, do you have creative, sharp people, freelancers, idea people that do not have, of course, high school education, yes, but do not have a degree or even associate's degree? And I thought, wow, this is a new day, right? Because when you look around, say, the 757, we don't lack for creative people. We don't. We have so many creative people. but not everyone has
you
a degree.
You and I talked about that briefly yesterday, yeah.
So it shouldn't be a divider,
Let me interrupt you really quickly, just for the benefit of those that may have just tuned in. This is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today. Super excited. We are having the second part of our great debate about whether entrepreneurs should pursue formal education. Joining us today are Nancy Praker-Johnson from Tidewater Community College's business department, as well as serial entrepreneur, Mr. Bobby Wright. You know, I really like something that you said just a moment ago, and I'd like to get back to it if I could. This idea about entrepreneurship as a value, right? So when I think about the fact that, you know, so many students are saying, in harmony with what you just said, that there was no exposure to entrepreneurship, the principles of entrepreneurship, you know, in high school or in college, I think, man, that's a travesty, because entrepreneurship as a value, the idea of ownership, right? I really believe it's what propels a community, propels a society, right? And so when I think about the two of you and what you're contributing by virtue of having these conversations, right, and developing spaces like Percolator, I'm excited, because it means that we're growing, right? What are your thoughts on that, about other ways we can infiltrate the value of entrepreneurship at earlier and earlier ages? What would you all say? Who wants to start?
Well, for me, Blair, certainly entrepreneurship does need to be integrated at a much earlier age. I agree with Bobby in the fact that when you look at middle school, when you look at elementary school or high school for that matter, that word almost doesn't exist. I remember being in the classroom teaching my students just a few years ago, and many of them really having that first discussion for the first time regarding entrepreneurship on a college level. And that is a travesty. No one says, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an entrepreneur. Why? You know, entrepreneurship is in everything. And so they really just simply need someone to connect the dots for them, to realize that all of the dreams that they have, the things that they want to be, it all starts with entrepreneurship. I mean, when we think about our phones, we think about cars. It all starts with that idea, and then, like Bobby said, connecting the relationships with expanding that idea. So for me, that's why it's so integral that our programs actually provide just that. One of the things that we do at the community college level with Tidewater Community College is the fact that you have those smaller classroom spaces, so that you have that mentorship and that rapport with students to really get inside as to exactly what do they want to accomplish. And we're finding, as we're teaching students around that entrepreneurial concept, that they in fact have businesses already, or they have ideas, and they just need a launching ground. And so that's been wonderful for them to be able to really do that, to launch that in a safe environment without any loss of funds or loss of feelings or, you know, loss of their dreams. But they're able to really develop that and explore that in a safe environment, and then connect with other networks so that they can really launch it. So I think, again, going back to the type of program that you're providing is really, really integral. It even speaks to your statistics when you think about the 62 or 61%, I believe, that talked about the college experience did not give them the opportunity of exploring their own ideas. So important that college experience gives them the opportunity of exploring their own entrepreneurial ideas if they are in fact in college. And we speak to that also in terms of co-curricular programs, where again it gives them opportunities to do workshops, to meet people like Bobby Wright and his team, as internships. Things like that really help to explore their network, explore what they want to do on a personal basis. So I think that's important.
Very important. Bobby, what would you say? When I'm thinking about this idea of entrepreneurship as a value, I'm thinking about things like solving problems, right? Networking and collaboration. These could be courses in and of themselves who are helping to develop minds, right? What are your thoughts on, again, integrating that kind of curricula at early ages? I'm talking even preschool, elementary school, right?
Yeah. Well, I had so many thoughts when I was listening to Nancy. One is that there's a 4-letter word that I like to use. It's called hope. And if you have hope, you can do so much. But if you don't have hope, or hope for the future, or feel like you can do better, then you can kind of be a fruit of your own demise, right? So in elementary all the way through the early years of being a professional, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you have some ideas, and you're that kind of person that likes to think outside the box, and what if I took this and put this together, or what if these people met? If you have that kind of spark that's just literally God-given, but there aren't any avenues to express that give you hope that you're on the right track, usually what you'll do is swallow it. You'll go down the track of, okay, I go to school, and here's what I do at school. And no offense to Nancy, because I love TCC, and I don't believe they do this, but what I hear from kids is, I use kids, hate saying that, but it's been many years since I was in university.
We're going to break in about 45 seconds.
Okay.
That's why you finish that thought, though.
Okay, they go to school, and they memorize what they need to learn, and they take a test, right? But it's not about, hey, what about this? And why do you think that way? And what if we incorporate that? That kind of dialogue may not be going on enough in the high school and university level, which thus is not feeding the entrepreneurial spirit. It just says, hey, let me memorize this, let me get a grade and get out, and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's a problem I'd love to solve myself is how do we start to have those conversations earlier without folks feeling like, you know what, I'm going to have to homeschool my children, or I'm going to have to, in some way separate them if I'm going to begin to inculcate these kinds of values. As you're aware, we are focused on the great debate, part 2. Should entrepreneurs pursue formalized education? Bobby, you were in the middle of saying some incredible things as we were heading into break, and just kind of hopeful that you would pick up where you left off in terms of this idea of hope. I just believe it's a necessity for the kind of work that we do, empowering entrepreneurs.
Well, Blair, if you don't mind, I'd like to shamelessly plug Percolator and give you a little history real short on how it began and what was the mindset. So we're 3 years old, so we're still a startup. We're a baby company, and we're growing along the way, and we're taking our nicks. And if you lead the path, you're going to have bruises and breaks and things like that, because the first one through the woods gets all the scars. So I feel like we did a lot of hedge clearing along the way. We were one of the first larger collaborative, innovative co-working communities, and now they're springing up all over the place. We didn't create the idea. I know we didn't create the idea, but what we did was Percolator was giving credibility and legitimizing that form of co-working. So as an entrepreneur, you could come into a community and actually leverage in on relationships, right? Or on people that do other things than you do. But one thing in collaboration is that even though I might have a different widget from Nancy, ultimately we do more alike than we do differently, right? So if we need for our company, we're looking for funding. I might have some sources for Nancy. Or if we're just trying to determine, like, what is our market? And how do we grow our market? I may learn a lot of that from another discipline. Who can I reach out to? So universities, nonprofits, cities, people, just key relationships. Who could I reach out to? So sharing of relationships are real important to advance whatever it is that you're doing. So when we formed Percolator, and I say we, it was me, and then I was forming a team, the first thing I want to do is find people that think a lot like me, or I call the twinkle in your eyes. So when I look at someone, I talk about entrepreneurship or just kind of doing something cool and unique, I want to see that big smile I just got from Nancy. I want that big smile, that twinkle in the eyes. So now I know we're kind of thinking alike. That doesn't mean I want you to clone me. Absolutely not. But because in co-working, we put up some guardrails and some guidelines. But the truth is, it's like set it in motion and get out of the way. I tell the cities that all the time. Help us, give us money, do whatever, but don't give us rules and get out of the way and watch what'll happen. So the number one thing we tried to do once I formed my team was to throw a big, wide net out there and tether out to as many organizations, cities, universities that had the twinkle in the eye. So TCC and who to you, I've got to give them an attaboy, because both based in Norfolk, really adopted, like, yes, let's work together. And so I met Nancy through, I think, Peter Shaw, and I clearly found that they have a heart for entrepreneurs, right? So even though they have courses and classes, they were interested in bringing that inside a Percolator, and Percolator coming inside the university and seeing how iron can sharpen iron. And then we can contribute to the overall, they call UX, the user experience. So the student today is looking for much more than just cracking a book and getting a thing they can hang on the wall. They're looking for real value that they can use out in the marketplace. So as we threw the net wide and started, we got a memorandum of understanding with Old Dominion University. I feel like we have one with TCC. They're in our neighborhood, and we play in a sandbox really well together. Norfolk State just opened up an innovation hub on Main Street. We're working really closely with them. Virginia Tech, we're pulling them in slowly. They're over here on the peninsula, but they're very active as well. And then the city of Norfolk. The city of Norfolk's been sitting at our table saying, hey, what can we do to change things in the way we do business? Now, cities move slowly, but overall, it's been a good experience. Virginia Beach the same, Portsmouth, and today I'm hoping to meet again with the city of Hampton. So what Percolator was trying to do is bring tools to the table.
Now, I love what you're sharing. My big takeaway is that, again, networking and collaboration are what makes entrepreneurship go. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, Nancy, how is this ability to network, this ability to collaborate, is it something that needs to be taught? Is it something that TCC has integrated in terms of course content, or is it something that entrepreneurs or other folks are born with? What would you say?
I don't know if it's necessarily something that's born with. It certainly needs to be modeled. And so even if it's not...
To be modeled.
Even if it's not formulated in an actual class, I don't envision a class that's called relationship building. But instead, when we think about classes and we think about programs, but we think about relationships, we're going to model that. We're going to show that. And so that's so important. It's important for our faculty, which they do, where they actually model that to show all of the relationships that they have already built in their careers, introducing their students to that, bringing in that outside into the classroom, taking the students out of the classroom to meet people, and just continuing to model those relationships. I'm hoping that I am different from other higher ed administrators, perhaps, because for me, I am a people person. I solely believe in relationships. I think it's so important in making sure that you formulate partnerships, you get to know people, you get to advocate for yourself, you get to pitch ideas, and you get to just learn from people. And, I always say, think about how you can actually kind of suck that person's brain, but also you bring something to the table. And there's an exchange. When we think about partnerships, some people forget what true partnerships are, but it's a give and take. It's just not a take, and so really true collaboration is really sharing, bringing together your piece and the other person's piece, and perhaps making something new, or really just interchanging where you're using their piece, they're using your piece. So those are true collaborations. And so I'm really about that. And when I find that, like we did with Bobby, I love that. And then bringing my students to be able to explore that and contribute to that as well. What I don't like, of course, is when you think you're collaborating or you have relationships and it's not necessarily that, you say, wait a minute, what happened? So just meeting people who are really down to earth, who has your spirit, your passion. As you know, I'm very passionate as well. And then that kind of that rubs off on people, that energetic feeling. And so it's really important, again, that any formal education, inside or out, that students are able to, or people are able to experience that energy, and be able to experience that passion and that rub off, and they can see that modeled. Really, really important when we think about relationship building.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of what you said in your intro, though, about entrepreneurship as a vehicle, particularly for economies that need developing, right? Mm-hmm. And when you think about true collaboration, the first thing that comes into my mind is this idea of building trust, right? And so when you're in a position where you can model, these are trusted networks that we're establishing. We're establishing that we are trustworthy, and then, by extension, we're working with others that are trustworthy. I just think that's so important, again, for that economic development piece. That's huge.
Yeah, and hoping to change the face of education, where it does just that, that it really exceeds a book, it exceeds a textbook, but it really allows students to get to know people. It allows students to build a network, to know how to build relationships, to know how to build that network and to tap into that network. We always tell our students that even your teachers and your fellow students in the classroom are part of your network. That's just the beginning, and then that can just ripple, from there into throughout your education. You're just rippling that network. But there's always something that you can learn, even, making sure that with faculty that they realize that, they challenge their students. They tell their students to challenge them. They tell their students to, think out of the box, critical thinking skills. All those things is those are skills past just the name of the course. But what are the integral parts? What are the core competencies that students are getting out of the class, like critical thinking, like oral and written communication, like debating, all of those things, the type of assignments we have and things like that will ensure that students are able to explore all of those different options. And we're educating the whole being. It's not about, educating to just fit into a box, but that whole complete person. And now they can do and explore and do whatever they want to do.
And Blair, may I add something? I want to tag into what Nancy was saying about energy.
Actually, before you do, really quickly, for those that may have just tuned in, this is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today. Great debate, part 2. Should entrepreneurs pursue formal education? We're chatting with serial entrepreneur Bobby Wright, founder of The Percolator, owner of the Granby Theater, and we're also talking with the Dean of the College of Business at Tidewater Community College, Ms. Nancy Prather Johnson. Go ahead, Bobby, what were you going to say?
I was just tagging in what Nancy said about energy. And there's something in business called ROI, which is return on investment. And that's important, right, when you're doing your term sheets and such. But there's another acronym that I love probably more. It's ROC that we've adopted, and that's return on collision. And the collision that occurs inside Percolator, but also between the members of Percolator and the universities and the cities and the nonprofits and such, is really important, because that energy that we share when we're together is immeasurable. It's invaluable. I can have a low point in my day, and I get together with a group of folks like we do regularly with Tidewater and ODU and Start Wheel, Retail Alliance, and all those, and I leave so energized. I walked in needing coffee, and I walked in needing a downer because I was just so excited. So there's something about being around people. But the return on collision is not, you don't want to collide with the same people all the time, right? So you want to be around the water cooler with different people. And what happens when you get where you trust people, and there is hope, which you were talking about, Blair, is you lower the stereotypes, right? You don't look at someone like, oh, well, I know what their answer is going to be. No, you don't.
Right.
You listen to what they say and what their heart says and their points and how they can help you say maybe a challenge you have, and the little nugget of information they'll offer that might help you. So it's just so important that people just get together. Take away the whole idea that it's got to be like a pattern book. There are patterns in life, certainly, but let's get away from that. Let's just collide as human beings and see how we can help each other, encourage each other, and then listen. Listen for what it is they're hurt. The pain point, we use that in the entrepreneurial world a lot. We're like, what's your pain point? Pain point can be, well, I'm having a hard time scaling a company. But your pain point could also be that you're second guessing this great widget that's going to eventually be worth $1 billion. But right now, because it's so lonely at the top, CEO entrepreneurship is very lonely at times. you can start to second guess yourself. So you need this team. You need these people colliding with you going, no, Nancy, that's great. Keep going. And by the way, call so-and-so. They're going to love what you have to say. Just as you reached out to me, Blair. Thank you.
So for us, Blair, it's really important that we have as many mentors and we have as many businesses, entrepreneurs that want to help our students. We're opening our doors. We want them to meet our students, come talk to our students, provide internships, provide just conversations, guide and direct them because they need that. They need to grow their network. You know, I listened to a gentleman the other day. He was giving some admonition to a group of young people, and I'll never forget this, but it was a really good equation that I used. And of course, me being, math background, education, anything like that just sparks me. And he said E plus R equals O. And I was like, okay, so where is he going?
Wait a minute. Look, I'm taking copious notes. What was it? E plus R
equals O. And so that stood for events plus response equal outcomes. Events plus response equal outcomes. Events will happen throughout life. We know that, right? But how you respond to these events will dictate your outcomes. And so that's some of the things that we really try to carry over to our students, starting them out on a spirit week, making sure that they have good rapport with their professors or instructors, really educating them around not only the actual core skills, but the fact that you're going to hit some obstacles. You gotta keep going. What do you do? What strategies, what skills do you do to pull to make sure you can just kind of pick it back up and keep going? I mean, we know that there are key characteristics in being a successful entrepreneur. So those characteristics also have to be instilled, and they have to be given strategies to actually, implement and use those characteristics in seeking their entrepreneurship ideas.
I feel like what I hear you both saying is that true entrepreneurship is education. Can't even really avoid it. I mean, it's just going to happen if you're doing it right. You're going to learn. So fear not, right? If you didn't get the degree or whatever, if you keep walking the path, particularly if you're in a market like Hampton Roads where there's such robust entrepreneurship culture, you're going to get what it is that you need. I love it. You guys are both great. What do you have coming up that we can engage with if we're local? We can talk about events. We can talk about upcoming classes. Just anything that's going on. How can we engage with you all?
Well, I know for us, we have an event coming up very soon. We haven't even sent out flyers or marketed anything yet. We just came up with the date. But on October 6th at the Murray Center, we're having a community event. TCC is partnering with the Murray Center so that we can reach out to the community and talk to them a few things about entrepreneurship as well as culinary and hospitality skills and how that connects with entrepreneurship as well. So really just reaching out to the community, welcoming them to the whole array of the business pathway so that they can kind of see themselves wherever they may fit, whether it be entrepreneurship, whether it be working for a hotel, whether it be starting their own restaurant, working for a restaurant, or even just the skill or industry of business. And so we're hoping that many people come on out for that event. We're looking forward to that, and we will be publicizing and marketing that very soon.
Why did you choose to start with culinary and hospitality? Will there be other events sort of in this series, or what made you hone in on that for this particular event?
Well, as you know, we're going to be building the new Perry Center in 2021, right in that Neon district and in that area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that would be certainly a good launch to look at letting people know that is coming to the community and how we can help. I've also found that in that community, there's many people who do have entrepreneurial ideas, and many of them start with ideas around whether it be creating something like cooking, recipe or what have you. They might be selling different dishes right out of their homes, and that is definitely the seed or the start of entrepreneurship. And we know that one of the small businesses that fail the most often is starting restaurants, the restaurant business. And so how we can help with that, we definitely want to be there. But of course, that day won't be all around culinary or hospitality. We'll also center around business as a whole, center around entrepreneurship as a whole, and on some of the other business programs that we offer. So we're hoping we're going to bring on some outside people as well. Hope Bobby joins us.
Yeah.
Our welcoming is a little different. Ours is more organic, probably a lot smaller.
Well, hang on 1 second, Bobby. Let me just make sure I got all the details for the October 6th event. What time is that one starting, and how can we register?
We haven't finalized the details yet, Blair, but we will be. We will have it on our website, and we also will be sending flyers out to homes. And we'll be distributing that information. I'll make sure I get that to you so you can also announce it to your listeners.
Yes, would love to do it. Okay. Bobby, what were you going to say? What do you have going?
And you're great on email, by the way. I get them all. Our welcoming is a little different. We started something early in the summer that's really paid some good dividends. A lot of the meetups that we have centered around what we do internally at Percolator, but as well as doing pitch conferences, things of that nature with universities and the cities and such. So, we try to spread our, as I said, our net pretty wide. But we started this social event called Together. It's every Tuesday at 2 p.m. and anyone is welcome. And so basically what it is a chance to be community. So we don't have speeches. I don't stand up at the founder and say, this is what we're going to do. We don't do any of that. We're just being community. We're getting away from the phone for a minute. Sorry, young people, but you really need face-to-face relationships with people to grow your life. So we encourage people to come around. Typically, someone will make a couple different homemade. Typically, it's organic or cold-pressed dishes. And then we have organic coffee, and we hang out for about an hour and we talk. So my encouragement to your listeners is that if you have an interest in Percolator, entrepreneurship, that type of thing, come on by. And if you email info@percolatorspace.com and just say, hey, Bobby, I heard you on the radio. I want to come by. Bring a friend. Come on. You'll be welcome. And I'll know you're coming. That's why I want you to email, really, just so I'll be there to welcome you. It's something we started sort of as a test, and I can tell you we're going to continue it because it's paying great dividends with our members. Secondarily, we're starting a new campus soon. This is probably the first place I've announced it, Blair, so you're going to be the first.
Hey.
Yeah, we're going to open a new space right on Granby Street. It's going to be street level where people can come in and test either their culinary or their retail products or anything they make. So as you know, the number one reason some businesses fail is because they sign their life away with a big lease, and that financial struggle ends up stealing their thunder, right? Takes the joy of what they do. So what we do at Percolator is we have these month-to-month relationships where you can come in, present your product, collaborate, cross-promote, cross-pollinate with others, and really have a test kitchen kind of thing to make sure that your friends will tell you have the best brownies in the world, but will the public tell you that? So this is a place you can test it with very little financial loss. And hopefully it's not a loss. Hopefully everything's a gain. So that's our two little announcements here on the radio show.
Yeah, the Meetup Tuesdays are certainly great. I experienced that myself, Bobby, and it was a great experience. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Met some great people.
Was it info@percolatorspace.com to RSVP?
Yes, and the word space, it's spelled out, space. Percolatorspace.com.
Okay. And when is the new campus coming?
Fall. I hate to put a date to it because I'm going to miss it, right?
Good enough.
The fall. But anyone interested, this again, just come in, we'll talk about it. We'll collaborate with others, and if it's your time, great. If it's not, then you can put it as something in the future, but you'll know what we're doing at least.
Man, that's so exciting. I think I got all the details here. I'm going to make sure I announce both of these happenings.
Thank you.
What would we want to say in closing as an encouragement to perhaps a new entrepreneur? We'll close on that. We've got about a minute and a half. As you can hear, 45 seconds from we've got 1 minute. If we get 30 seconds from each of you.
I'll go first because I'm going to be short.
Entrepreneur in closing, yeah.
Blair, I'll just go first because I'm going to be short. Don't give up. Plug into people. You'll find hope there. And feel free to share your dreams. No dream is wrong. No idea is wrong. So get away from that idea that failure is negative. If you haven't tried hard enough, you haven't failed, right? So failing is a part of succeeding. So don't give up. And please come see us at Percolator. I mean that with all my heart. I would love if all your listeners would line up to come see us. I will spend time with each and every one of them. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Bobby. What have you got, Nancy, in closing?
Yes, I would say the same. I would say definitely please
No, you can't say the same.
Please come out and see us. You know, one of the things about community college is the word community, and that's really, really important for us that we are an integral part of the community, and we are. And so we've been able to establish those relationships with our city, with our school systems, with businesses around us. And so it's so important that we're able to support the community at large. So we're asking that us too, you know, please come by and see us. One of the things about the formal education piece is that we also have a full support system. We pride ourselves in providing those wraparound services, providing those support systems, that network that students need and people need in general. And so sometimes it's just a matter of they don't know where to start. And so we're just asking, please just come on in, come into our doors. We are there to welcome you. It's not a scary place. We are all friendly people. We all have a lot of energy and impactful. We have some experience and we just want to share it. And so we welcome that community to come on in and let us help you. And even if it's a matter of you coming in and wanting to audit a class or check out the scene and what we offer, and come to some of our co-curricular gatherings where we have workshops and things like that, that's certainly a start. But let us help you, and we're here to help. We want to energize, innovate, and bring whatever dreams that's out there to reality.
How can you be reached directly, Nancy, or would you like to be reached directly? Do you want to give an email address or anything?
Sure. My email address is nprather@tcc.edu. We can also be reached by dialing 822-1100. That's our kind of hotline, so to speak. And then I have a personal number also to my office, which is 822.
Very quickly, we got to wrap up.
822-1186. So feel free to reach out to us via email or phone.
Got it. Thank you both so much for being here. This has been great.
Thank you.
There will be
it was enjoyable.
That focuses on funding and venture capital. So stay tuned for the details on part 3. I've got to announce some details. We've been talking about Black Diamond Weekend all year, but I've not really given you a whole lot to consider. I want to let you know today that you have until September 15th to secure early bird all-access VIP passes to this year's Black Diamond Weekend, where we're celebrating success in Black entrepreneurship and providing opportunities for business development. Visit blackdiamondweekend2019.eventbrite.com and use the promo code SUPEREARLYBIRD to take 40% off your all-access VIP. Friday night features a Diamonds in the Sky VIP party and welcome. Small Business Saturday, which is Saturday, November 30th, features a Black Expo with celebrity appearances, health and wellness talks, makeup demonstrations, live music, and more, as well as our annual Business Boot Camp, featuring a supplier diversity roundtable sponsored by Ferguson Enterprises. We've got entrepreneurial small talks on government contracting, branding, and more, plus a special masterclass with Dr. George Frazier, whom I'm sure if you've been listening, you remember. Then join us Saturday evening for the 4th annual Black Diamond Affair, where we will unveil elements from our 150-year plan for excellence in Black entrepreneurship. We'll be celebrating our Community Black Diamond awardees, and we'll enjoy a riveting presentation by the evening's keynote speaker, who is also Dr. George Frazier, international best-selling speaker and author, Lifetime Achievement Awardee. Last, come back on Sunday for our Wealth Machines #IamFunded pitch contest, featuring 13 to 20-year-old entrepreneurs. Many opportunities are available. Again, visit Black Diamond Weekend 2019.eventbrite.com for more information. We're super grateful to our guests today, Nancy Prather-Johnson of TCC and Bobby Wright, founder of The Percolator. We're also grateful to our sponsors, Abner Fora and the Ready Academy, for being a part of Black Wall Street Today, where we're building minds, building connections, and building the path ahead toward economic freedom through education. Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. Join us next week for a session on business capital and debt relief with Anthony Epps, Michael Gray, and Frankie Knox. We will talk to you soon.
Phenomenal.
Stay with us online at Black Wall Street Today on Facebook and Black Wall Street Today on Instagram, and then follow us on Twitter as well at BWS Today. We look forward to talking again next week. Have a wonderful week. I have said and I will continue to say that the most important priority for the Black community is the Black community, not a particular political party.
Phenomenal.
Hey, yo, when I say black, you say Wall Street. Black Wall Street. When I say black, you say Wall Street. Black. When I say black, you say Wall Street. Black. When I say black, you say Wall Street.